Hi, I'm Scott from Aristocob.com.
I'm Seth from theshrinkingpastor.com.
And together, the three of us, we are Markwood Men's Breakfast Club. Welcome. Good morning, boy.
Good morning, Homer. How you doing?
I'm chipper.
Jazz handing it up, I see.
I've been that way all morning. I can also make birds and such.
Birds and such.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's get down to this. I'm excited because I'm about to smoke my Missouri Meerschaum. This is a Hobbit. This is a Wizard from the new Cobbit line, and boy happens to be smoking my very first real Churchwarden, which is about a 1950s era Missouri Meerschaum Cobwarden. And we're going to smoke in it some Sutliff Sunrise Smoke. Now, this is the description we get from this. A mild, delicately flavored smoking mixture. Which is to say...
I am a fan of the matte finish on that.
Yeah, I am too.
Check out, I don't know if you can see the gloss versus the matte on this side. That is just slick.
Yep, I like it too. Oh, you. He knows what they're about to do to me.
Appropriate for wizards, I think. Yeah.
All right, we're going to have to Google this to get the actual contents. Dagnabbit. What's it called?
Rooster.
Sunrise
Smoke.
Smoke.
It's got a rooster. Mild, delicately flavored smoking mixture. It'll make your cock-a-doodle-doo.
Sunrise Smoke Sutliff Tobacco. Man. Yeah, you enjoy that, would you?
I will. Do you want to switch pipes?
I kind of want to, but now I'll press on.
I mean, you want to swap so that I have the bigger pull?
No, it's all right.
Okay.
All right. This lavish mixture of pressed Virginia ribbon, pressed black ribbon, Turkish, and Latakia is sure to awaken the taste buds.
Good morning!
Perfect for fans of Dunhill early morning pipe. Manufactured by Sutliff under their Sutliff private stock brand. You know, I should do this Googling before I suggest, hey, we should smoke this today.
I feel so far away. It really is weird.
Yeah, it is.
Bizarre feeling.
That it is. All right, so we got a couple things to talk to you about today. First off, as we mentioned before, Boy and I are planning on doing a little bit of a studio here in the shop. It's actually quite a pain to get this set up that we do for the shoot. It's in the way when we don't want it, and when we do want it, it's not where it should be.
Everything gets torn down. Video, microphone, computer, all that's my personal stuff. I use it at home sometimes and out and about. So I have to tear it down, set it up, try to figure out where the clock is supposed to be and where we're supposed to be. Every single time we have the same conversation. Can you see some of the trash that's just off to the side? And you know, are we in frame correct? And it's a pain. It's a hassle. It would be nice not to have to do it every time.
There is not enough distance between me and this tobacco.
You don't like it?
Of course I don't like it. Of course I don't.
Really?
I'm sure it's fine. For those of you who smoke this stuff.
It's got relatively strong Latakia. But you did say you were a bit congested. That'll clear you right up.
Yeah, right up.
No need for Halls or menthol or Vicks. It says Latakia.
Hey, I know what. I'm going to set this down and talk to you about something. And talk and talk and talk and talk. So, anyway, our plan is to have in our studio some stuff behind us. In part because I got crap at home that my wife wants out.
Oh.
That's important to me. And
where better to put our crap
than in my shop.
Than in your eyeballs.
And one of the things I wanted was, and I told Boy, when I was a kid, and to this day, I still love going to hardware stores, and especially old hardware stores. And old hardware stores had the neatest displays, and sometimes they were animated and did things that, to demonstrate the performance properties of a particular product. And I was telling him about this one display that I wanted to have somewhere behind us. And in fact, I was telling my friend Cuz, as we were walking through an old hardware store, I described what the thing was that I was looking for, and he's like, "I've never seen that." And I said, "Well, come on, let's go down the adhesive aisle, and I will show you. It's in every old hardware store." And just as I was about to give up, there it was. So, here it is.
You stole it.
Well, no. This is a display, even though it says treat on it. It's a display for an adhesive product called PC7. And this is what they call their crazy bottle display. They've been making this display since 1964. So the year after I was born, they started producing this display. And when this is swung out like that or to the side, you'd find some of their epoxy product hanging on this display. But that epoxy is being used to hold this golf ball on top of that liquid-filled bottle. This little sign's glued on, the shelf is glued on, the support's glued on, the whole thing is glued on by this two-part epoxy.
That's cool.
And to me, it's been in every hardware store since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool. So I was able to acquire one of these. And no, not stolen. I was watching for them on eBay, as a matter of fact, and just couldn't find one. So I took a different approach and
punch the clerk and put it in your pocket.
And now I have it. So anyway, it's weird. I know. I get it. I'm still looking for a few things, and if I can't find them, I'm going to put out an APB and get your help as well.
That's cool. Are you familiar with Sugru? Similar, looks to be a similar product. And I don't know that it's a two-part epoxy, but it does a similar thing.
Yeah.
And it's used a lot of times electronics, or it's more on a computer nerdy
contain metal or something?
No, it's not. They might sell one that does, but it's used to do very similar stuff. It'll stick two things together. You can use it to, stick two pieces of pipe, or use it to make handles and hooks and all sorts of things.
Well, this stuff, a couple things I like about it. I have made no secret of the fact that I use JB Weld quite a bit. I like JB Weld. But this comes in big containers. You can buy these big, pint-sized containers, and you get two of them. They're stacked together. And so if you want to do some serious fill-in of something, and it's incredibly strong, it's a great product. Now, the only downside, and when I was doing some testing for attaching the rare earth magnets to the bottom of the Magna Cob, I tested that, and it has a recommended maximum temperature of 200 degrees. Well, it's not that it caught fire or smoked or burned or anything, but it did release the the magnet, because the magnets I buy are probably way too strong.
Right.
So, anyway, I like it. It's not something you would use on a wood stove or your catalytic converter under your car, but you can use it in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And they also have a version of it called PC11, which has some other properties. I guess over the years people asked, could you make a product that would bond to other materials that this didn't bond to, or faster or whatever.
James Bond.
So anyway, check it out at your local hardware store. Every time you see this in your hardware store, you'll remember Mark Men's Breakfast Club and where you saw it here.
That's true. And soon you'll see it behind us. Hopefully. Maybe. Yeah. In the spring, when the shop is clean, and he has to finally smoke an Aristocob.
So what else do you want to talk about, boy?
So I found something cool today.
Ask me a question so I can talk and put this pipe down.
Nope. I won't do that.
Here comes the monologue.
When I was a young child. So I was in Big Lots the other day and ran across this bottle. I thought, I have never seen that before. And that looks weird and that looks cool. And especially since we've already enjoyed this product a couple of times on the show, I thought...
Did we enjoy this product?
I absolutely enjoyed it. You tolerated it. Kind of like the tobacco. And so I thought I'd share this with you. This is a Monster energy drink, but it is Uber Monster.
Uber.
Yeah. And I've never seen this before, and I'm sure that it's been out on the market for a while because it was at Big Lots, and usually that's the way things go. Products go there to die and not at the beginning of their life cycle. But this is bioactivated, non-alcoholic Monster energy drink.
What? Oh wait, bioactivated.
Yeah, just listen. I don't know. I don't know. Uber Monster energy brew. Uber, from the German meaning superior, above the norm, or the ultimate. Thanks. Uber Monster, the ultimate energy brew from Monster, produced using proprietary German brewing technology. We borrowed a German brewing process which uses a special microbe to ferment malted barley. The resulting bioactivated energy brew has a clean, crisp taste without the alcohol.
So it's a near beer then.
I guess. No regular bottle could handle this evil energy brewski, so we designed our own with the biggest wide mouth opening we could make. The big ass cap is a little hard to pry off, but it's sort of like if you can't open it, you shouldn't be able to drink it.
Pry off like something the pocket monkey might be needed for?
Yeah, that is not a twist cap.
Allow me to put my pipe down. What are you doing?
I don't know. Trying to free up your hands.
All right. Pocket monkey to the rescue. That is a big
robust
cap.
Yeah.
So it's already released some of the gas.
So for a fair comparison, we have a second normal Monster here, which means 2 Monster energy drinks.
Oh, I get to compare them?
Yep.
This is not my favorite episode.
I know. Doesn't smell much different. Did you know that I discovered something on my pocket monkey the other day that I hadn't seen? I don't know that you've ever talked about.
The monkey hole?
No. It was something else. The hook, I think it's on the back. Patent pending, facility made in the USA. No, maybe not. Oh, no. Here. Mine has a little icon of a lock, an open and lock.
Yeah.
For opening, like, bathroom doors.
Yeah, you can slip this between the door jamb and the bolt, and you can pull it back on the ones that are free floating. Yeah, it works for that. One of the 50 original methods or uses for the pocket monkey. I do like that one.
That's interesting. Try that.
Interesting?
Yeah. It's more mellow. It's, I mean, either of the things in your hands that you put into your mouth, you're going to be upset about. So, it's not...
I'm just looking at the 25 grams of carbohydrate.
Well, just a little bit.
I'm watching
You can
carbs.
spit it out.
Oh, yeah. Ugh.
Now compare.
No!
Yeah.
Oh!
That's for science.
Do you like that? Need I remind you, it's Big Lots. It's a Big Lots monster drink.
I don't like it as much. No, it's... Yeah. I don't like it as much as
No!
as this.
Oh, gosh! Why
This has
would
a
people
weird-
do that to themselves?
This has a weird bitter aftertaste. And it's a lot more mellow. This one has a kind of a sharper
Oh, gosh.
lemon lime
I
flavor.
do that to myself.
Yeah, I don't care for that as much. All right. You're welcome. You're welcome,
Let's
Internet.
go back to the jazz hands, because, I'm no longer happy. Nope. Can't get it back.
So, the last thing that I've got, I think, we had another viewer-submitted question.
We like those.
We do. This was a good one, and one that I think might lead to some good discussion. Jimmy Cricket 61258.
Jimmy Cricket.
That's what it says.
The Jimmy Cricket 61258.
The in MMBClub episode 59 asked or commented, "I've been watching y'all's vids for a while now and enjoy them very much. One thing that always impresses me is the quality father-son relationship you seem to have with each other." Well, it's the magic of television. That's what it is. Have you always got along so well? If so, what's your secret? And would you talk about that sometime in a future MMBClub meeting? This one. I really envy I really envy that. Guess because my father and I are not close. Thanks.
Well, Jimmy, if I can call you Jimmy, Seth and I were estranged for many, many years. In fact, I questioned that he was even my son. No, that's not true. Never, ever could I deny that that's mine right there.
Well, I mean, in fairness, we were estranged until you were, what, 23, 24, and then we reconnected.
And I came home from work.
Then we connected and have been father-son ever since.
That's true. Oh,
I responded.
That's tough. I mean, you know, I mean, first off, what did you say?
Well, I responded and because I didn't want to just... I thought it was a great question and one that I wanted us to talk about here, but it's not one that I wanted to just leave hanging and not give a response to. So I said, good question. I like the idea of addressing this in a future video, but I'll hit some highlights right now. Yes, we've always had a good relationship. Dad and I are fortunate enough to share a sense of humor, or rather, he implanted his sense of humor into me, as you do with your kids. And that's the foundation for a lot of our friendship. If you don't really share that with your father, go out of your way to make time together. Even if it's doing something that you wouldn't do on your own. If he enjoys it, do it. If you're sharing your time with doing something fun, it's a lot easier to build a relationship. That's why we take dates, bowling, and not to do our taxes. Hope that helps, and keep an eye out for this video for more information.
So actually, you and I don't do much dating, or bowling, or tax preparation.
No, but you know that's not the similar hobby that we share.
Right, it's true. Yeah, I mean, it does have a big part in the fact that you do have a very similar sense of humor to me. You have a very similar taste in music. Mm-hmm. We like the same kind of movies, although every now and then, and it's part of what makes it interesting, there's something that we completely crash on. Need I remind you of The Prestige?
Well, I won't ruin it for anybody.
Don't mention Miranda. Miranda sings.
No, but you know what? She's been showing up on my YouTube feed. I think you've been implanting her there.
Did I tell you about her unicorn?
No.
She's running for president,
right?
And one of the points of her platform is she's going to stamp out porn, and to do that, she's introduced a new mascot, the anti-porn unicorn.
Uh-huh.
So she put this costume on that had this stuffed, very phallic styled unicorn horn on it. And she said, so this way, anytime porn lures its ugly head, I'm going to stick the anti-porn unicorn's horn in its porn hole.
As I said, the comedy part, I appreciate the really
annoying voice and the singing.
I can't take it, no. So... You know, I think there are two questions. Two questions to address. First is
have we always gotten along? Was one question.
Well, yeah. I mean, I
think
think
change his question.
No, maybe. No, I think that as far as addressing the question, the two parts are that I see is our relationship, and then how could what if any recommendation do we have from our outside person perspective
to Jiminy
to maybe improve on a relationship that's not as fortunate as what we have.
Okay.
So have we always gotten along?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have. There were just little moments, and in fact, when Seth turned 13, I threw a special event for him. We're basically inviting him to be a part of this thing that we call manhood, and set it up to where several of my friends and my father would interact with him over the course of a weekend. And this all happened at a campsite, and I've shared this before, I'm pretty sure. But the point was, when I turned 13 or around that time, my dad introduced me to a guy at church that I thought was just the coolest man on the planet. And by the way, the anniversary of his death just passed. And I remember asking him years later about that, and he told me that he was sensing that a change was coming, that I was becoming an adult, and that our relationship was starting to get a little strained. And I was doing the natural thing that any young man does, and that is, I was trying to be the alpha male in the house. And he knew that a time was coming, at least for a short time, where I would not lose respect for my dad, but I would. It was much, much easier at that time to disrespect my dad and not listen to the things that he had to say. And so I didn't know this, that he set this thing up to where this guy was my buddy, and whenever I was having trouble at home, I would run away from home and go to visit Cal and his family.
Yeah.
And we had such a wonderful relationship, and it was actually Cal, probably 20 years later, who told me that my dad had set that up. And I was floored. So when Seth turned 13, I knew that he would also, and I was already starting to see it, go through a phase where I was about to become the dumbest man on the planet in his eyes. And I would want other men in his life providing influence that I felt was at least going to be morally correct. It's so easy to get bad advice, bad influence in this world, that I wanted to make sure that he knew that there were other people that he could go to that would be safe. So that was the start of getting through what could have been a really rough patch. And I think what a lot of young men, where they run into problems with their dad, is when they're wanting to be a man, and dad is saying, "Come on, you're just a kid." I don't know. What would you add to that, son? I mean, that was.
Yeah, I think that the only times I remember ever being really, really mad at you is when I thought you were being stupid, and usually those times involved when I thought that I was being treated like a child in ways or times that I shouldn't be. I mean, one of them was like just a handful of years ago. I remember yelling at you in the kitchen of your house, just because I was so upset. My grandparents were in town, and we were trying to make plans for the afternoon, and he was so caught up in dealing with the stress of having his parents and his dad and his mom in town, and what the plans to make them happy were. I had a very limited amount of time and a very limited gas tank, and was wanting to be a part of the family, and was recommending, hey, could we do these plans in this order? That allows me to be with you now and not have to miss out on all of the fun. And he was just so focused on this, and finally I just said, you're being stupid, stop it, and you're being inconsiderate. This is really frustrating. This is, at this point, I had moved out of the house. I think I was probably married at this point, but I was just so ticked off.
And part of this too was there's coordination with other family in town. My sister and her family, and her adult son and his wife and his family, and there's a lot of that. And you know what? There is a lot, as Seth will point out, on my brides and my side. There's a lot of people pleasing that goes on, which in the end often doesn't please anybody, especially us. So we got to be careful about that. That we're not sacrificing, especially sacrificing when no one's asked us to, and the thing that we're sacrificing isn't important to somebody like we think it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so, But those moments have been, thankfully, few and far between. And, you know, usually I say you're being stupid, and he says, get out of my house for a moment, and, you know, or just, you're being stupid, and then we take a breath. You know, I remember when I was...
You gotta say, nuh-uh!
That's right.
Usually
and
starts with
then you get over it pretty quick. You know, it's a guy fight. And I guess that's where we have been fortunate. You know, I remember one time I had a roommate, and he and I were just irritated at each other's face, and I think we punched each other. He's my best friend. I think we punched it, like, he just did something like that. I was threw back, and then it was over, and just getting it out on the table, and it was done with. And so, you know, and that's I think one of the nice things about being a guy is usually it's easier to get some of that stuff out, and then you're able to just let it go.
I mean, I'll tell you one more thing. We share a common faith. We share some common commitments, that among them are the fact that, you know, when it's all said and done, we're family and we love each other. Even when there are those times we don't like each other,
Right.
we still love each other. I mean, there are times where I am so angry and still holding the door open for my wife or my daughter or my son, because that's what you do for people that you love. Even though I don't like them at that moment, I love them.
Yeah, and...
So, but that takes forethought and planning, and knowing that, you know what, we're in this for the long haul. This little fight, this little, you know, spat is a short thing, and let's not get too stupid about it.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
and
and
how do we reconcile? And, you know, your advice about finding something that his dad likes. Let's face it, we're all selfish.
yeah,
Finding something that your dad likes to do or is interested in, and taking some interest in that. I found that if you pretend that thing is the most fascinating thing in the world, to learn details about, to Google, to check on Wikipedia and learn the background of whatever that thing is, before long it actually becomes quite interesting.
I heard the author Orson Scott Card talk about that. He said the only reason why any of us ever think a subject is boring is because we are too ignorant on that subject to know how interesting it is. And so taking the time to humble yourself sometimes, and study something, but even if you don't want to do that, you know, Dale Carnegie in his book How to Win Friends and Influence People, he talks about how you might be sitting with someone at the bar, and if you're asking them questions about themselves, they might talk all night. They'll do all of the talking. You're just asking questions, leading the conversation, probing, and at the end of the night, they think that you are their best friend and that they know so much about you, even when you haven't shared anything about yourself, because we're selfish people. And, you know, you can do that with activities too. Does your father like to go shooting? Offer to go shooting. You know, does he like to do woodworking? Do that. If there's, you know, thankfully, again, Dad and I share some common interests, but then there are a lot of things that he does and likes to do that I could go either way about. You know, I don't share his passion about.
But you still show interest when it's, you know, time to share.
Yeah, and if I ever felt like things were strained, or I needed an in to start building or repairing a relationship, those are the things that I would recommend. You know, I would say, let's build a table together. Let's do this thing that you enjoy, even if it's not something that I necessarily enjoy, because I get to share time with you, and you're going to be happy during that time that we're sharing.
Right. Markwood Men's Breakfast Club began as
An appeasement.
an excuse, as Boy was very young, to get out of the house, get away from the women, and have a few minutes together. Yeah. And that evolved over the years to even now, where we'll still say, moment's notice, hey, you up for Markwood Men's Breakfast Club tomorrow? And, you know, we're going to go to Carter Brothers and eat biscuits in the morning, or Country Barbecue, or any one of the places around here.
Well, and this Markwood Men's Breakfast Club began kind of as in a similar fashion. Dad was watching a lot of YouTubers, a lot of daily podcast vlogs. He was watching Good Mythical Morning, and he was like, man, that looks like so much fun, and I would love to do that with you. And my response for a long time was, I just don't have the time. I don't have the time, and I don't care about that stuff. I don't watch any YouTube videos, and I would feel really awkward doing that. I don't watch any of the pipe videos, and I would feel really awkward doing that. And so I was very hesitant, and then decided, we'll give it a shot and see what happens. And then Tobacco Advent just took off like crazy, and it was a lot of fun. And it's a great excuse for us to come and get together once or twice a month and shoot some videos and just hang out. And a great excuse for me to get to smoke a pipe, which I don't get to do.
It's funny because even this conversation is a perfect example. Having a conversation about something that we probably would have had anyway, maybe sitting over pizza, but getting to share it with you is a different aspect of this. But we don't get together and prep about the stuff that we're going to talk about. Really, we just try to say, hey, do you got anything that you want to show or talk about? Yeah, I got a couple things. Let's go shoot a couple videos.
Yeah.
So it's fun to sit here and have a conversation with each other.
Yeah.
But I don't like Monster drink. I don't care.
What about Latakia tobacco? How about this rooster in your pipe? You want to put this rooster in your pipe and smoke him? I mean,
Call me chicken. No, I do not.
McFly.
I am so done with all that. Anyway, I was going to show you one more thing before we wrap this up, so at least I can end this on a positive note for myself. A little hint. If you get yourself either a new or old church warden, one of the challenges is going to be getting nice, long pipe cleaners to get the job done. And I know that a lot of people have poo-pooed this idea, but I'm telling you, I picked up a bunch of these chamois sticks, as they call them at the craft stores, because they're not allowed to call them pipe cleaners. Picked them up for next to nothing. And I remember somebody on the Pipe Smokers Forum or someplace was saying, oh, but the quality of these, blah, 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 and they give off lint and all that. But you know what? If I can't clean my pipe sucks. True. Give me something.
Could you run some water down it? Would that be fine?
You could. It's not going to hurt anything, but you just blew all over your computer.
That's gross.
Yeah, it is.
That's gross, that stuff that just came out of there. Cool.
So, look at this. Look how educational this was. Oh, see, I just hit the inside of the chamber. Look at that. That's perfect. Look, down inside the chamber.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome. You can put a little bend in that, a little crankage, and give that a spin.
Crank it up. And
it's coming out
pretty
clean. Last little bit there's got some gunk on it, but anyway, I wanted to say, if you're on a budget, or if you're in a town where you can't find pipe cleaners, you have no tobacconists, go to Hobby Lobby and pick these things up. Very, very inexpensive, and I have not noticed a problem with lint. Now, they don't have them in the coarse. People that like to buy the ones that have little bits of monofilament line inside of them to get their pipes really, really scrubbed clean. They don't have that, but
I bought some. If you don't have a local tobacconist, gas stations, they've got them. With the tobacco. Man, at least I bought some just the other day. They were only 6 inches long, so they're not going to get
pipe cleaners.
Yeah. Bought some pipe cleaners. I had a work activity. I was having them build pipe cleaner towers together, and I forgot to get that at the arts and crafts store. It's kind of a last minute idea, and I went to the gas station. They had some. It was like, I think there were 50 or 45 pipe cleaners for $2. Nice. Pack, not a bad deal.
We should do an episode comparing notes and talking about group activities like that, because I've done a lot of those over the years, and they're great icebreakers.
Allie and I, my wife and I were talking about how just surprising it is, having been so exposed to those through camp work and teaching work. It's surprising to us how foreign those sorts of activities are to some people.
Yeah.
That was my experience with the group I was training. It wasn't, they didn't see the activity as anything but the activity until it was over, and I started showing them how what lessons they could pull from that.
Did you notice how you were working together on that? Did you notice how
what worked, what didn't work?
Some people gravitate towards the instructions and others gravitate towards leadership. And lots of lessons to be learned from that. All right, well, we're going to wrap this up.
Jimmy, hope that helps. Jiminy.
Lady and gentlemen, this wraps it up for this week. Y'all make it a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Later.